And welcome to the Bitcoin Night Show. We got a great show tonight. I'd like to introduce you to the house band. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Big news from the East. Vladimir Putin meeting with Xi Jinping in March, with many eyeballs on that. And while most of their conversation was likely around Russia's military exercise in Ukraine, Putin made an interesting comment. We are in favor of using the Chinese yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. It was a public signal they no longer want to touch the US dollar. And if you've ever taken a dollar and looked at it under a microscope, I wouldn't want to be touching that either. Russia and China have long had a, whatever you want to call it, competitive or frosty relationship with the US, so that kind of rhetoric makes sense. But perhaps more shocking is to see countries like Saudi Arabia, Japan, India jumping on board, signaling the same thing. Of course, other nations have always wanted to do this, but the US has made it particularly difficult to move away from the dollar. If you're in the Bitcoin space, you hear this a lot, that the Federal Reserve is bad, they do bad things. But to their credit, they have done a good job for decades in keeping the dollar strong. Inflation is bad, yes, but there are far worse examples from around the world. The dominance of the US is not just drone strikes and John Cena. The money of a nation can also be used as a weapon of war. Did you ever see that movie, The Marine, with John Cena? Yeah, was it good? Okay. Aid, sanctions, trade, all can be used to get compliance from others. If you want proof, just go take a walk outside. Look at how the US uses conditional federal grants or conditional grants in your state. They say, all right, to get money for your highway, we want the speed limit to be this. So US states comply. They all do. Big reason why the freedom fighters like Texas, Florida, New Hampshire, they all stay within the margins. Now, of course, I would never criticize our leaders. We are the good guys, right? We only want to export positive values, good values. But say hypothetically, we are pushing something and another country disagrees with it. Well, the money hose gets turned off. No more hose. And really, the sad thing is with all sanctions, who gets punished? Heads of state? No, not really. It's the commoners, the regular people. They get punished with no trade, no help. What beef did they start? So, not great. The good thing is that Bitcoin fixes this. Any neutral world money would help address this. Bitcoin just happens to be the one. We have yet to experience how Bitcoin is used in a major war. And while it's impossible to predict all the chess pieces of the world, how they'll move, you gotta believe that Bitcoin is gonna be a major player. I don't want war. I don't want any country to have financial collapse, all right? I'm not that detached or insane. But if you zoom out and look at things logically, at some point, Bitcoin is going to end governments being able to use financial sanctions. It's going to prevent economic bullying. So, the pain of globalization in that sense will be a little easier to bear thanks to Bitcoin. Now, I would prefer countries came to their own conclusion and play with adoption like El Salvador, but I think unfortunately it's going to come out of bad events. It's going to come out of necessity. It's going to come out of a country that is desperate. It won't come from a country where everything is going great and everyone's happy. Because why change anything? By default, it's going to come from a rogue nation state, a country that's not playing by the rules. And that's when things will get really interesting for Bitcoiners. If Vladimir Putin comes out in a bright orange suit and says, "I'm a Bitcoiner," oh man, we are going to have escalation. You might think there's a large Bitcoin community with businesses, politicians, academics all involved. But watch what happens when Kim Jong-un comes out in this big fat orange jacket and says, "I love Bitcoin." A bill will pass overnight saying, if you use this stuff, you are anti-American. You know, the European Union is dying for excuses to add more surveillance powers. Watch all the crypto businesses, the politicians who claim to be down with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin YouTubers. They're all going to close up shop and say, "Hey, we had a good run." And that will be the end. Right? No, that won't be the end. As cypherpunk Adam Back has said when asked about this exact scenario, you know, Bitcoin is spread too far to fail at this point. It's just in too many people's hands. Even a multi-country pact to outlaw Bitcoin, it won't be strong enough. Bitcoin is too resilient. That top crust of Bitcoiners, that top 1%, are too powerful. They are insane people who have nothing to lose. It's cypherpunks and, of course, the Bitcoin billionaires. You don't think the shadow men who have held Bitcoin since the beginning haven't thought about this scenario? You know, Satoshi has very deep pockets. Predicting Bitcoin's future is fun, but in some ways, looking back can be even more helpful. So, coming up, we're going to be going back in time and checking out one of those Bitcoin OGs in the early days with a special segment, Ancient Bitcoin History, right after these messages.
When you wanna transact and keep it all a secret, but the government sees all, how do you tell them to beat it? Monero, Monero, the privacy coin that drives the Fed insane. Monero, Monero, two players battle in this ring signature game. Stack up the rings, some are bigger than others. Be careful on the dark web because of undercovers. Monero, Monero, a controversial form of cryptocurrency. Monero, Monero, no need to worry, there's nothing here to see. Who will be the winner of this water-filled race? A one-on-one digital card goes out to first place. Monero, Monero.
By Cryptograffiti.
With the Blockstream Jade, self-custody is easy. Use Jade how you want. Access the Liquid network. Use Jade fully air-gapped. Blind Oracle pin protection. Ultra-random key generation. Seed QR support. BIP85 support for Uncle Jim's. It's fully open source. The only Bitcoin hardware wallet you'll ever need. Self-custody is easy. With Blockstream Jade.
The Lifeboat Foundation is a non-profit, non-governmental organization dedicated to encouraging scientific advancements while helping humanity survive existential risks and possible misuse of increasingly powerful technologies, including genetic engineering, nanotechnology, and robotics, AI, as we move towards the singularity, Lifeboat Foundation is pursuing a variety of options, including helping to accelerate the development of technologies to defend humanity, such as new methods to combat viruses, effective nanotechnological defensive strategies, and even self-sustaining space colonies, in case the other defensive strategies fail.
In 2010, Gavin Andresen posted on the Bitcoin Talk forums. I decided to do something that sounds really dumb. I created a website that gives away Bitcoins. 5 Bitcoin per customer, first come, first served. I've stocked it with 1,100 to start. So any visitor completing one of those stupid I'm not a robot tests was rewarded with 5 Bitcoin. And they could do this once a day. Looking back, you might think, wow, that was really dumb. I bet now Gavin wants to jump off a cliff. But you got to remember at the time, Bitcoin was truly an experiment. When Bitcoin had no value, what incentive was there to run it on your computer? Only forward-thinking cypherpunks, desperate for digital money, were willing to waste time setting up a node, using computer power to mine, and jump through all these hoops for something that might ultimately be nothing. I mean, look at this list of failed projects for digital money. iBill, Peppercoin, Samopo, these all at one point had serious, educated people working on them. People wasted years, used up resources, and went to jail, all in the pursuit of a hard money to use online. The concerns in the early years of Bitcoin were not so much people attacking the network. The concerns were getting people to care at all, to take it serious. There was one instance where a man with an IP address in Spain managed to drain the Bitcoin faucet. Gavin called him, quote unquote, a Spanish jerk. But it didn't take long for some protections to be put in place, and others in the community graciously donated Bitcoin to fill the faucet back up again. The rewards changed from 5 Bitcoins to eventually just a piece of a Bitcoin. And unfortunately, once they began to have value, people weren't looking to donate to the faucet anymore. These days, Gavin stays out of the spotlight. I mean, if you really wanted to be a VIP at all these conferences or speak at them, you easily could. I mean, the bar is just so low. Just look at some of the speakers for Bitcoin 2023. Gavin does keep a blog with various musings on things. Seems to be into climate change, so for any rumors he's clicked up with intelligence agencies, that does kind of make sense. When the Bitcoin faucet was set up, Gavin articulated, "I want the Bitcoin project to succeed, and I think it is more likely to be a success if people can get a handful of coins to try it out." If Gavin never did this, maybe Bitcoin never takes off, or is delayed for years. You know, who knows? Seemingly small events like this ripple. Gavin was like one of those little butterflies that flaps its wings in one country, and the wind travels to another country and knocks over a cup. I don't know if I would put him on the Mount Rushmore of Bitcoin, you know, the top 4 people, but he's close. A very important figure in the story of Bitcoin. It was Gavin who received the quote-unquote last email from Satoshi in 2011, when Satoshi said, "I've moved on to other things and will probably be unavailable." Satoshi has been unavailable ever since, but people continue to carry the torch, even if it seems kind of dumb. Thanks for watching.